Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a warm but sunny and beautiful afternoon at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. It's time for more coverage of the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Texas. I'm Greg Kramer, along with Calvin Fish. Jeff Lepper will be down in pit lane. We're getting ready for the 15th round of the Pirelli World Challenge GTS Championship Series chase. Temperature right at about 90 degrees, and the humidity, it's there, but it's not as bad certainly as it could be or has been here. So I think we're in for a wonderful afternoon of racing, a pretty stout field, and a couple of really cool stories that are brewing. One involves the points battle. Lasse Aschenbach, Cal, has an immense lead coming in. He can do something fairly rare here on two different levels. One number of championships he could be a winner in.
Yes, an amazing performance. He never ceases to amaze me in terms of how consistent he is, recognizing the big picture right from the very first round of the championship. And that's what puts him into these strong positions come crunch time. I mean, he could theoretically at least clinch the championship here this afternoon. It's going to be tough to do as Ian James is the closest guy to him, and he sits on the pole.
Yep.
He's already got that bonus point, and the Panos looks really strong. But, you know, you would think by the end of this doubleheader weekend that the crown should be Lawson's way with the doubleheader remaining at Sonoma.
That's pretty impressive stuff. And if it happens, he will become a five-time Pirelli World Challenge champion, which puts him in very august company, tying Michael Galati for second all-time behind only P.D. Cunningham. The other story is, and it's kind of a twofold one as well. One, the momentum that Ian James and that Panos team has, but also how close this grid is, especially if you throw out James's pole time.
Yeah, well, Ian laid down a real flyer at the end of the session there, or at the end of his run at least, and he's about 4/10 clear of the pack, but the next 8 cars were within 4/10 of a second, so it is really strong. So many different brands involved there. I think we're going to have a real barn burner here this afternoon.
Well, and that's a very good point. You have a Panos on pole, Ginetta second, Porsche came in a GT4 Club Sport third, a Crossbow fourth, and then you have another Ginetta, but then you have a Maserati, then a Chevrolet Camaro back in eighth. I mean, it is a real stout lineup of great variety and the like, and there's the 251-foot tower, beautiful observation deck here, getting lots of traffic here this weekend. But I think the key is going to have to be here. One is if Gottsacker, Baptista, or a young man we need to talk about a little bit, Dakota Dickerson, making his debut in the series. He is running with the newly reformed, I think, Newman Walks Racing in the Formula 2000 Championship, Cal. And he's been very strong in that series, makes his debut here. Tell you, the guys from Ansem Motorsports go out and find some real ringers, don't they?
It's pretty cool. Alan Liddell is always looking to give guys an opportunity. He wants to put quick guys in his car as well to really represent his brand and his team. But this is a young man who is very impressive. Watching him through qualifying was really putting down some great lines. I mean, the key with that Crossbow right now is we put more weight on it, gave it a little bit more power to really bring it more into the dynamic of the class. But that tire remains the same size. It's super skinny. And I think with the tire degradation, the heat we're seeing here at COTA, I'm going to be very curious to see how that young man manages his car during the early parts of this race to have something left at the end.
Yeah, the only thing that might help him is being it's a Crossbow, it's light and it's a little bit more akin to maybe the car he drives in Formula than one of the big V8s, certainly.
Sure.
So we'll see how that works out for him. But as you said, it was super impressive in the qualifying. 4th overall, well clear of the second place GTS AM car at the 47 of Keith Jensen, the NOLA Sport Porsche, back in the 10th spot. So that's going to be fun to see. The other thing is of course that Panos, yes, it's very quick, but it also being a big V8 with lots of power tends to run heavier. And if Harry Gottsacker or Baptista or somebody can't get in front of him, in front of Ian James on this opening lap and bottle him up just a little bit and try and make a break, if they can stay close and hound him a little bit and get Ian to run those tires off. So as we've seen with this different blend of cars, the big V8 heavy cars, the lighter weight, more nimble cars, this race at what we see at a third of the way through and 2/3 of the way through may not be what we see in the last few laps. So it's going to be interesting to watch this one unfold here, this 15th round of the championship. This one, tomorrow's race, the 16th round, and then 2 more at Sonoma to wrap up the championship. And there's that number 10. You can see it there right almost center screen of Lasse Aschenbach. What a story that would be and may well be yet today. We are just about to have the command to start engines, and then the field will set out. Of course, first time on a weekend, in a doubleheader weekend. The first race is a rolling start. And the command now being given down on the front straight in this field. Great variety in this field coming to life down there. right in that pit lane behind the pylon down there. This is a look at turn one, Cal. You know, no TV angle really does it justice. You got to be here and look up at it. It's 13 stories of a climb from pit out in a short number.
It's
of
amazing.
Space.
I was walking through the garage area and was looking up towards the end of the paddock area and saw the cars exiting turn one at the start of the touring car race, and it's just, you think, wow, where are they coming from? It's like they're dropping out of the sky. It was really incredible.
It is. It's just an amazing piece of racetrack. You can see the angle of the cars here as they come out of the pits and up in. And as so many of the corners here do that are big braking zone corners, the way here Herman Tilke designed it is at a certain point it opens up to the apex. And so it becomes very inviting. And we've seen in some other action here, Cal, drivers that I think had a good idea of ramping the outside when everybody kind of takes the bait and goes to the inside and trying to ramp the outside, but they're carrying a little, just that too much speed, and they get off on the outside edge and the marbles up there, and then they skate wide. And you've got to have a little of discipline to be able to say, maybe not quite that quick, and I'll get something done here. As I mentioned, Jeff Lepper, also part of our broadcast team. He's down in pit lane. It's a warm one down there, Jeff, but what else is news?
It is, and a lot of stories here in our GTS category, Greg, with Parker Chase and Harry Gottsecker. Harry sitting on the front row next to that Panos of Ian James, and Parker Chase back in the 5th place. Unfortunately, both of those Ginetta G55s were underweight after post-race qualifying. They've been moved to the back of the pack. And watch out for Scott Dolehite in that Lotus Evora, making his season debut here in Pirelli World Challenge. He was fast all last year. This is his home track. Can he convert driving our Cadillac ATS-V pace car all year to run in that Lotus here, racing it today?
I think he makes a good point. It's his home track. He gets a lot of laps around here. But how's his racecraft after, you know, maybe not running at this level of competition this year thus far?
I think that's the question to be answered here today. I think the Lotus certainly shown a lot of speed here in practice. Had solid runs here last year. I think he's on the podium in one race and just off in the other with a 3rd and a 4th place run. So he knows the track well. He's been anxious every weekend. He keeps saying, it's getting closer in terms of him getting back behind the racing wheel. And I know he's excited, got a lot of support here this weekend. So his dad working feverishly during one of the setup deals that they were doing with the race car earlier this weekend. So he's heavily involved, and I think it's just great to see that young man back here competing again.
And you know, the graphics and the color schemes on these cars, there are 2 of them here that are absolutely perfect. A black and gold Lotus and an orange McLaren. That's how it should be. And that Lotus of his is absolutely beautiful. All right, word from race control. Lights going out. There you see it on the ATS-V safety car. We are going green this time. Of course, at the back of the field, the Cadillac Escalade, the official medical vehicle of the Pirelli World Challenge. All part of the contribution by our great partner, Cadillac. And there's Lawson and that Camaro. Dolehite right behind him. And Jeff alluded to it. In one of the practice sessions, Scott was right up at the sharp end of things. Didn't quite get the lap he wanted qualifying.
But it was close. I mean,
yeah.
3 or 4 tenths, he could have been on the front row. So he's got the pace to make some moves here. But it'll be interesting to see the dynamics. Looking at the trap speeds from qualifying, you see the Ginettas very much in the frame in terms of the front of the grid. But looking at their trap speeds, they're down at about 140 compared to Kurtz and the McLaren at 149. You then got the Porsches are at 147. So there's going to be a bit of to and fro here in terms of where the speed and the lap time is coming from.
I think so. I think we could see very different races at different points here. And you're saying the McLaren's got some legs.
It does.
Serious legs. Yeah, well, we saw Kurtz go to the front lead overall for a little while up at the elevation there in Utah. So cars got pace, but now we are about ready to get going. Very tricky exit of turn 18 into a very tricky turn 19. That handcuffs a number of drivers. And then onto the front straight. And a green flag, we hope, for 50 minutes of Pirelli World Challenge GTS competition here at the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Texas. On the outside there,
yeah,
laying it back just a little bit.
Gottsack is gone.
Yeah, well, Jeff just alluded to it. They were apparently underweight, and at the last minute that was discovered. They went to the back of the field, and you had to leave that spot open by rule. So that's why there was that sudden gap there, and James trying to take advantage of it. Here's what I'm talking about, though, that swarm to the inside.
Look at Dickerson to the outside in the crossbow. Can he scramble for grip there? Baptista's got back inside him.
Now inside down into here, and look at Dolehite already up into 4th. What a start by Scott Dolehite, and Lawson Aschenbach trying to get down the inside of Dolehite into the S's.
Super
he wants it bad.
Amazing stuff from Lawson Archenbach. Really forced the issue there, Greg.
Oh, he did, and we saw him do that at Utah when he clearly did not have a car with a lot of straight line speed. His restarts and his original starts were something in Dakota. Yeah.
He doesn't know the rules. I love it.
Oh, that car is so light, and the one thing that is helping them out is they have always, he gets down the inside of James. Can he do something with it here into turn 10? He's got the run. He's through.
Got the lead. He has got the lead around
here comes
Ian James now protects to the inside. What a battle as they head into the brake zone for turn 11. Dollarhide right there in the mix. What a first lap for him. He's up into the top 5, 6.
And the one thing, that extra weight, that change, and a spin by Jason Bell. Everybody else looks to be able to avoid. That's a good thing.
Wonder if he got a nudge there at Apex.
But with that new approach to the BOP with the heavier weight and a little bit more power on those crossbows, their tires come up to temp and pressure a little quicker. That really hurt them early. Of course, here in 90-degree heat, I don't know that that's a huge issue anyway. Look at Stavely. That's that all-white genetic, forced a little wide, trying to get down the inside of Dullahite. I think he may have got it done.
He does. Great racing here. Oh, then he's sideways there, trying to get to the power early with a lot of steering input. Snaps the rear end. Keith Jensen very much in the mix. He tries to dive inside of Stavely.
He's there. Stavely's going to try and stay parked around the outside. Can't do it. Jensen's one of the AM drivers that has shown up and has been very impressive since he entered the series. Look at Martin Parkey now trying to work his way around some cars and up to the front. Always quick.
Trying to make a move around Nate Stacey there. Stacey trying to hold on. Parkey forces the issue and makes that move. Kurt's there in close attendance as well.
This young 17-year-old Nate Stacey had a great run in Utah. Was quick in a couple of the sessions earlier in the weekend here, but again, just didn't get that qualifying run he wanted. And right behind him is the guy who, 4 races ago was second in the GTSA points and now is the runaway points leader because he's won, I think, 6 straight? It's just been an unbelievable run by George Kurtz.
Yeah, he really has been on form, and certainly the McLaren has shown stout speed here this year. Baptista now working on Ian James, but the big question mark is now that Dickerson has the lead, we've got to think about time management. It's one thing to be impressive and grab the lead early. Now he needs to just sit there, think about what the car has given him. Don't force those tires too soon, young man.
Boy, he is really putting on a show here. He's a Skip Barber Series scholarship winner, and then came out of karting and was a front runner there. And obviously Newman Walks, when they decided to recreate that team, saw something in this young man, and I think we're seeing why right now.
Yeah, and I think it's a multi-year program for him. I think he moves up to the Formula Mazda Championship next year, so some big things in store for this young man. Look at Baptista defending. Lawson looking pretty racy here in the early going. Really didn't do a lot of laps in qualifying, just trying to save them for the race, Greg. Otherwise, I think Lawson may have had a couple of tenths up his sleeve.
Yeah, but with that car and the weight it carries, he knows the game, and it's got to have some tire. And look at Dullahite right there. Lawson trying to get a run on Baptista as well. The three of them, they've been able to gap Stavely just a little bit. What happens down into the brake zone here at 12? Lawson way to the inside. I'm not sure he really thought he was going to be able to make the pass on Baptista, but it sure prevented Dullahite from diving in there, didn't it?
Dived to the inside and then threw the parachute out, and Baptista just took it in really late.
Baptista trying to get the nose inside of James.
I know James, talking to him this morning, even after qualifying, he said, I just got to protect these tires. So I think he recognizes early in this run, he may let that crossbow go a little bit.
You have to wonder, I mean, Ian James, knowing that lead of Lawson, I mean, stranger things can happen, certainly. But big picture, and is he going to be just worried about racing Lawson, or where they sit in this championship, do they just want wins?
I think they just want wins. I think they recognize the championship as such a long shot at this stage of the game, Greg. They love winning. It's a great group there. The team is so professional. The preparation is just at the ultimate level. And I tell you, this has got to be the nicest looking Panos I've ever seen in racing competition. Beautiful race car.
Yeah, not even close. It is just absolutely stunning. I mean, the old LMP1 Roadster was pretty trick, but this thing is just an absolute piece of art. And clearly, under Tom Milner and that team's guidance and progress, and working with Ian James, it has turned into a real rocket ship of a race car as well.
And they've kept the back. Hats off to Don Panos. Even when they weren't doing a lot of racing, he's kept the backbone of that team. Yes. A lot of great crew are still there, familiar faces, and that really means when they do go racing, they just switch it back on again.
And early in the season, I mean, it's a brand new, literally brand new road car, let alone a race car. And there were the inevitable little teething issues that it had. But once they sorted it out, I think a big step was getting the paddle shift in it as well. That solved some issues. And it put it behind in the actual working on setup and the like. And when they hit their stride on that, it's been great. Now, Lawson, ooh, outside, inside, back out. That was an interesting little.
It was.
Dullahite, he may have just tapped Lawson and it unloaded the back of the car. He got sideways and then saved it.
Talk about Lawson's racecraft, but I don't think he realized that Dullahite was quite so close when he was moving around there, because Dullahite was thinking about moving to the inside as he flicked it back again.
That was an interesting moment. And Baptista looking not quite close enough to make it work. Boy, Baptista's, though, he may not be close enough to make the pass on the way in, but boy, he sure rolls speed at the apex, doesn't he?
Yeah, someone's way wide there. Is that Aschenbach? No, there's Aschenbach. There's some blue on it. Maybe Jensen. Someone went really
could have been
wide
Jensen
there
on the
as
back
well.
of it, yeah. Ooh. Rodrigo is pushing it.
He is, and very impressive young man, has shown tremendous speed right from the get-go this year. He's had to learn how to race and temper his enthusiasm at times this year, but let's take another look here. Lawson Aschenbach down in that brake zone. Amazing he can make the car do that and not lock up.
Well, he left a great big black mark too on the left side there. I'm not sure that's good on tires. Another lap down onto the front straight. Now Baptista, 3 wins this year, one of them coming at the most recent event in Utah, and then of course swept at Lime Rock. A little bit of a dry spell in between, but he never didn't have the speed, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it was good to see his teammate Nate Stacey have a really strong run at Utah as well on the podium there.
Margin last time, by the way, from young Dakota Dickerson, 1.7 back to Ian James, 0.6 then to Baptista, and then you can see how close everybody else is here. In the background now, Jeff Courtney is working his way up. He now, last time by, is up into 7th in that Kendall Rex stuff. JCR Maserati just coming through your frame there with the number 19 of Parker Chase from dead last on the field. He and Harry Gottsacker, and Parker now is up into the 8th spot. That's a great drive by Parker.
Yeah, they got a lot of speed in those Genettas here this weekend. Shame to see them get pushed back after qualifying.
Yeah, just a little light. And rules are rules, and he just gets around your points leader in GTSA, George Kurtz. And that is the car that's qualified outside of the front row. That's the 69 Ginetta of Harry Gottsacker. Trying to make sure he completes that pass on Kurtz. Does.
One of the other Ginettas is the Aldridge, the 2016 chassis that Stavely and that team run with Ian Lacey Racing. They just laid down the fastest lap of the race at a 2:20.8 compared to the leaders running low 2:21s.
And those of you that have tuned in all season long are well aware of this, but for those of you who might be just joining us, fastest lap in the first race of a doubleheader is incredibly important because it determines where you start race 2. So that is a big moment here for Drew Stavely. Nice guy, just said, I'm having the time of my life. He's been a coach at Utah Motorsports campus in the old Ford Racing School there. And Frank Gannett came through and really fell in love with racing. And he said, hey, how'd you like to go racing with me? And he said, yeah, heck yeah. He said, I'm just living the dream right now, just enjoying it.
Yeah, it's really a good fit, and it's great to see the commitment that Frank has made. I believe his wife is also going to be maybe doing some racing next year, potentially in our paddock as well. So he loves racing. And Drew said, yeah, I'd heard the story before, but Frank was for real, and he's followed through on all of the commitments that he's made, and they're looking for a full season possibly next year.
Now, they showed up at Road America, said it's killing us that we have to miss the next round at Mid-Ohio. And they said, for Drew, he said, that's a track that I know incredibly well, and we really wanted to race there. And he said, but we're back for the rest of the season and looking forward to the next year. And they really have come in here and been right there at every event here. Boy, Dullahite really starting to pressure, always popping to the inside, kind of a last-second move.
A lot of bumps down through that corner as well. It really materialized over the last 12 months.
I think Scott, you know, obviously he wants by, and he's clearly got a little bit more speed than Lawson does right now. But the nice thing, Scott certainly realizes championship implications, and you don't want to mess with that here. So he'll show the nose, but he knows Lawson is not going to make it easy in any stretch.
Yeah, you want to make the headlines for the right reasons.
Exactly.
Not the wrong ones.
You know what, though, with Lawson, I think he's just off of it just a little bit. You look at the times, he's last lap at 2:21.7. Everybody else in the 2:20s or the low 2:21s. And that is allowing not just Stavely to stay there, but Courtney and Parker Chase are coming after him. There they are.
Yeah.
And they are closing. And Barkey is coming right along for the ride, too.
Gottsack is now up inside the top 10. He had a solid run as well. Really impressive at Mid-Ohio. A lot of speed that weekend. He really seems to have broke through a speed barrier this year and has shown tremendous pace, the young man.
He got his first pole, I think, at Mid-Ohio. Just everybody went, well, here we go. There's Dullahite once again.
Lotus seems to have some speed in different places to the other marks.
It's in the back of the screen. It looks like George Kurtz got to run back on Gottsacker down that long straight. Ooh, he's sideways there. That's what I thought I saw. And Chase now through on Courtney.
I'm not surprised that McLaren made a move down the back straightaway because the trap speeds were quite different. So I'm sure that was a lot of track to try and cover to not let the McLaren through.
And Stavely now has absolutely latched onto the back of Dullahite, and I think he's looking in his mirrors and seeing the Ginetta from the other team coming after him. And when you're running a similar manufacturer as somebody else, you always need to be the guy that finishes up front here.
Spoke to Stavely about his weekend at Utah where he was so strong, and he said in the race one he just suddenly the car's handling just went away, and they realized afterwards one of the sway bar brackets had come loose and basically put a lot of crossweight in the car. He said it just wouldn't turn.
Nice
but he
move
came
there.
back nice. Yeah, it's nice to see Dullahite finally make that move around Aschenbach, but he said when the car's in its sweet spot, it's really good.
Well, it's so light and agile. And yeah, we were marveling at Utah that he could put it pretty much, it seemed, anywhere he wanted, and it would just stick. And I asked him about that last lap, last corner move when he went way wide into that last turn and then turned down the banking. And he said, I turned so aggressively with so much throttle. He said for a second I thought I was just going to lose the whole thing and spin. He said, but it held and it got me a run, but it just wasn't quite enough. He is fun to watch race.
Dullahite just taken off now. He's cleared Lawson. I think he's got a lot of pace in that Lotus. Wouldn't surprise me to see him catch these guys who are fighting out for second and third, Ian James and Rodrigo Baptista.
I think he realized I've got speed. I don't want those guys up there to get too far down the road. Ooh, whoa.
Wow, big slide there. Carried it nicely, but you don't want to be doing that too often this early in the run.
And now Stavely has Parker right on his 6 with Courtney. There's your top 3. It looks like James has taken a little bit back maybe from Dickerson. Baptista right there. And now Parker is getting out, showing the nose to the 12 of Stavely.
Tell you what, though, Dickerson's done a nice job up front. You said it, James may have increased the heat a little bit on this lap, but previously Dickerson was running very consistent laps in the low 221 range.
Please don't say increase the heat. It's 90 already here.
Oh, look at that move there. Parker Chase down to the inside.
And got it done.
He is a man on a mission here this
Sure
afternoon.
is. Boy, and that parked Stavely a little bit. Courtney's thinking maybe. Can't quite get it done. And that Maserati's a pretty car, and it sure sounds nice too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a great addition to the mix here in GTS.
"36 minutes, just a little under here." Parker now starts the attack on Lawson.
See if he makes the big move to the inside up the hill. He could brake so late with the elevation change here up into the brake zone. Looks to the inside, dives for the apex. Lawson gives him just enough room. I think he felt that Parker was going to commit there and want to make sure there was racing room in case he was already alongside his fender. And they're the subtleties, Greg, that you see from a veteran like Lawson Aschenbach. He recognized that Parker had made that move, could potentially be into a contact area, and just gave him enough of a gap to maintain the position but not force contact.
Look at this, Baptista turned the heat up on Ian James. Last time by, James, he picked up 3/10 to Dickerson, but some of that might be just because of the pressure Baptista's putting on him again as he's had to ramp it up, and here comes Dullahite. It's essentially now all over the back of Baptista.
Fastest lap now belongs to Harry Gottsacker at 2:19.981. So he's He's got some speed in his Ginetta as he slower pace anyway than Parker makes his way through this field from the back of the grid. Look at this. Dollarhide's got a run on Baptista.
He does to the inside. Lotus there. Let's see what happens down into the braking zone of 12.
Nice. That's exactly how you need to do it. Just get that position, then just hang the guy out there. Don't go diving in and feel you got to carry the speed through the apex. Once you've got him off to your side, just hold him out there.
Park him.
Got it.
Just a little bit. Yep. Well, he did that to perfection. Next up the order is Ian James. Dollarhide's last lap, a 2:20.3. And other than that lap by Gottsacker, comfortably quicker than everybody else on the track.
Great run by Dollarhide. Really impressed to see him this much on form after a big break. A bit like my golf game, Greg. If I take 2 months off, I normally play my best run. Hitting the ball every week.
You're saying practice makes questionable?
Yeah. Practice gets in your head.
Oh, look at this now. Right behind Aschenbach, Parker Chase. Couldn't find a way by on that lap. Gottsacker all over the back of Barkey. And he's down to the inside. See what Martin does here. That crossbow can go pretty deep as well, and does.
Martin's really strong there. Really a brave driver.
Yes.
But I like his style. I mean, he really gets hold of the car and wrings its neck.
Well, and he isn't a game player either. That's what I like too. Is that he gets in, and he told me once. He said I drive cars because I like to drive fast. And he said I don't see any point playing games. He said I go out there, and he said I leave nothing on the track. And if I do well, I do well. If I don't, I don't. But he said my joy is the driving. And it's really refreshing to see somebody just attack.
I like the fight. I really do. I think if you're in a bar and you're getting in the brawl, he's not the biggest guy, but you definitely want him on your side, not the other.
Seriously, yeah. Aschenbach, Camaro, Chase, Ginetta, Maserati. That's good stuff. Crossbow in the mix. Great battle here, all for 5th. Here's George Kurtz just in the bottom of your frame, running 11th overall right now. 2nd. You don't hear us say much that often here. He's 2nd in that GTS class, and it's all because of what young Mr. Dickerson's doing up front.
He's got a tough benchmark here today in terms of an AM guy with Dakota leading this race overall. So a little smoke there in the air. I'm not sure if someone ran a little bit wide, maybe Courtney. But Courtney doesn't have the ABS system with the Maserati.
I kind of have the feeling that if Mr. Dickerson continues to do what he's doing here in tomorrow's race, the A might drop from the back of that designation here. Yeah. And I don't think it really concerns him. It's not like he's in it for a championship. So, yeah, I'll race wherever you want me to. Gottsacker, quick look there heading into 16. Such a neat corner complex.
Got a lot more bumpy there as well. Talking to the drivers, turn 1 brake zone, turn 3, and turn 18 right there.
Oh, Cody Ellsworth, that is the number 22 CRP Racing DeVille Hawk Performance Porsche, is out.
Not sure if he's in a safe zone or not, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, they're kind of looking at that right now. Here comes Gottsacker again. Courtney shows the nose to Aschenbach. Gottsacker down inside. See if Barkey's able to just use that and ramp the outside. This time, wow. Ooh. Huh.
That's the predicament with track limits. When someone says, well, I was forced out there, you just open up your hands. You can carry a bigger radius and bigger speed, obviously. So you're using it in sort of an attacking way.
Right.
You get a little warning for that one in terms of, okay, we'll give it to you this time. It's been a bit of a hot button this weekend. When you come to circuit the Americas with so much runoff area, it's always something that the drivers want to try and take advantage of, and the stewards are trying to control it so it doesn't get too crazy.
He just called it race control, just radio to the team, warning for track limits to 80. So that's your one. Be careful after that is basically what the message is here. Ellsworth, I was just going to mention, this is his first start in GTS. Certainly this season, I think perhaps ever. He's a front runner in the touring car division in his Racer Inc. Porsche, and decided to try GTS here, and unfortunate to see him go out. Had a pole actually in the at Road America, if you remember that GTS race where it was a non-points race they ran with GTS, and he put it on pole there. So I think that gave him a taste for GTS racing, and fortunate to see him have some problems here in this first run.
Hopefully it whetted his appetite for a little bit more, because he's a nice young talent to have in the championship.
Talent is the key word here. He is quick. Boy, Gottsacker's got to be getting frustrated because he's able to show the nose in so many places, and Varkey just able to ramp the outside enough.
He showed the speed too in terms of the lap time.
Yeah. Margin now at the front. Dickerson only a second to James. James just turned in a quick one, a 2:21 flat.
Dollarhide is really handling these guys. He was about 3/4 of a second quicker than both of the leaders right now. That Lotus is coming to the front. What a story this would be,
wouldn't it? And if it happens, I have a feeling we may need to be looking for a new safety car driver for the series, because he's going to want to finish out.
Yeah.
He's there.
He's probably got the mentality right now. I've led you guys for a lot of laps this year. So.
Yes, exactly. I'm used to seeing you guys in my mirrors. That Lotus is just so planted.
It just really shows speed in, I hate to call it strange places, but places where the other cars aren't able to roll speed. Scott, like there.
Unique places.
Yes.
Yes. This is a tricky complex here. 8 really tight right-hander up into a really tight and important left-hander, because this is a longish run here through there down through 10.
Yeah. I think at this stage it's going to just be timing. I think the Lotus certainly has the speed to maybe get all the way to the front. It's just timing the moves, and he's got a lot of experience right in front of him, and a very fast young man leading this race. 2 guys to get through.
Interesting to see what, from Dollarhide's perspective, as you said, Ian James, just such an exquisitely experienced and savvy race driver, and to see Dollarhide watching, and I mean, Dollarhide's certainly got great speed, but the guy in front of him has got racecraft too.
Yeah, you can just see there from the moment they get on the brakes, he's just not having to slow that Lotus down as much as the Panos, for example. So from brake and turn-in point to apex, he's just carrying a mile or 2 more than the Panos, which is certainly handling very well also, but Lotus seems to be in a different league.
Okay, up through turn number 15. That's the exit of the stadium section. Now into this triple apex right. Just balance it on the throttle all the way through here, don't you?
You do, and it's got some character now. There's some big bumps there right at the load point right there.
Yeah.
Kind of unsettles the car. And I think it'll be good. I'm not sure how the Formula 1 guys are going to like it in a couple of months.
That's a good point.
Like to run their ride hype. I think for a GT machine, I think it's actually adding to the character of the circuit.
I agree. I had the honor of doing the PA announcing for the first Grand Prix here at this one, and at turn 19, the number of times you would see multiple world champions go squirting off the outside of that corner, going, oh, no, that's not right, that's not it. And lap after lap, and just at one point I made the comment, I said, I wonder if Herman Tilke sitting back watching this, twisting his mustache, snickering, because he certainly has found some diabolical corners for these guys to have to deal with here, but it's a great challenge, isn't it?
It is. It shows the depth of the field. That Stacy was on the podium just a couple of weeks ago in Utah, is now fighting for the 12th position with Keith Jensen.
Yeah.
Just no easy pickings in this class right now.
Aschenbach's at 6. Chase has been able to get through. So Aschenbach now worried about Jeff Courtney, still in the 6th spot here.
Certainly based on their current running order, and now get to the point where another few seconds they will all score points here today for running half distance. Aschenbach will not clinch, whilst James is running up there in the big points, and he's sitting down in 6th currently. Basically needed to gain about 10 points on Ian James in this race to clinch for the next race here this weekend.
And they came in after Utah. They did make a slight adjustment to that Camaro to give it basically just a little bit more straight line, which is clearly needed. Oh, look at this.
Yeah,
Dollarhide through.
Grabs the 2nd position from Ian James.
talked about it, that he just is able to carry more speed. You get down inside.
He's got to be having fun.
Yeah, you think.
I really believe, I mean, there's a long way to go, and
Right.
I'm not just saying it because he's up to second, but this is one of the nicest races I've seen Scott run.
It is, actually.
And I'm sure he's run the race through his mind many times over the months where he's been sat idle in terms of not racing. And it's great to bring that to reality.
Yeah, when he ran last year, I mean, he certainly had some races where he was very quick, but there were also some, instances and incidences that I'm sure he would have liked to have changed. And boy, you're right. He really has put one together here. Now we'll see what kind of speed he's got relative to young Dakota Dickerson.
We'll see how Dickerson races once he comes under heat here a little bit.
Wow, look how quick Dullahight's catching him.
Yeah, he's definitely got the car to beat here today. But he's got a young man who's been very impressive this weekend.
Yes, he is.
He hasn't been intimidated by going for the lead early and grabbing it and taking off and establishing the cushion. It's right there, the acceleration between some of the corners where that Lotus really seems to be like a Pac-Man compared to the competition.
As we're watching this, just let you know, Harry Gottsacker now up into 8th. What a drive he's putting together. But this one is going to stay here for a little bit and see just what Scott Dullahight has. And the other side of the coin has Dickerson. He's got some pretty savvy people on the pit wall that may have been telling him, save those tires a little bit, don't overdrive. You may need him, because he's been able to suddenly gap Dullahight just a smidge.
I think he's very quick through the S's with the crossbow. Yeah. So how they fare coming down this straightaway. In qualifying, the Lotus is about 4 miles an hour quicker than the crossbow. So theoretically, you should inch up on him here.
Let's see what happens. Baptista now in the number 3 Flying Lizard Porsche. A little bit on his own there. Here he comes. Flying Lizard livery with the yellow stripe. Look at, oh, Dullahight's so close. Just not quite close enough to really do anything.
Yeah, about 5 miles an hour quicker through the speed trap was the Lotus.
That's significant.
Yeah. Well, he's got pace on the Panos as well there, and I think that's how he made the move on Ian James on the previous lap. Just be patient at this stage of the game. Don't throw all the good work away by getting too impatient, even if the door is half open. There's the last couple of laps, different story. Long way to go still.
That's the line, though, that he's driven virtually every lap, whether he's been attacking somebody or on his own. He just keeps it really pinned tight there, going through 14 and 15.
The key is the other guy recognizing that, though. It's all well and good. I can stick it here, but if the other guy's not anticipating it, doesn't matter if you're both on the side of the road.
Down the front straight we go. 21 minutes, 40 seconds to run. You can see it's the first time we've seen Dickerson kind of fade, haven't we?
Yeah. He was recognizing that Lowe's a little bit closer. He could be in position to attack. Let me just close the door fractionally, making it a bit tougher decision for him. So obviously the young man is smart. He's looking in his rearview mirrors, sensing where the car is behind him.
Well, James is doing a nice job of just sticking with these two light cars.
Through this section here where the crossbow really seems to scratch it.
Sure does, doesn't it? Well, even with the additional weight and that sort of change in perspective, it's still a bit lighter than these cars.
Well, the concern is with the crossbow, we've just been trying to get it so it's more raceable with the rest of the pack, and it certainly is. They've done a great job that with the balance of performance by increasing the weight a little bit, but it runs on a very skinny tire, so there's a real fine line there between overloading that. But young Dickerson has done a really nice job of managing his tires, it seems like. I haven't really seen him sliding that car a lot, which we haven't seen that a lot last year. Sandberg won here in I think it's the identical car actually, so
yes, I think so.
Oh, here we go. Big move to get it woke down. Looks like he does.
Oh, what a pass. Oh, but look at Dickerson. He's not giving it easy. Trying to stay around the outside. Now he's going to try and see if he can float that speed a little bit.
Tough to defend against that straightaway speed and braking ability with the Lotus.
Right. Oh, I thought he was going to try and pull a Dullahite. Just stick it down the inside tight there. But Dullahite had that red.
James to the inside. Power move by Ian James there. Suddenly young Mr. Dickerson went from the lead back to third in a hurry. What does Ian James have? Does he have anything up his sleeve for that Lotus in front of him?
Just what I was thinking is, has he been able to save tires and the like enough to actually have something to go after these guys?
Sure, the young Englishman Ian James, when he was a lad, loved the Lotus brand, but I'm not sure he wants to give him a victory here.
Exactly. They do seem to have in that Panos, Ian certainly does, the ability to find speed when he needs it sometimes.
Oh, he's smart.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about reading the car, understanding the tire, feeling when it's slipping a little bit, not overdriving it, managing it, just keeping it within the threshold of what it wants to give you at this stage of the race.
He's got a report number 45 of Bob McCallion. That is the Racer's Edge Sin R1 GT4. Is really slow out on track at this stage. They're just letting all the teams know about it, but unfortunate. Bob, great to have him in the championship racing for Racer's Edge.
Chase now is up in the top 5 and is the fastest car at this stage of the race. I know the other guys were duking it out a little bit, may have compromised their lap time somewhat, but certainly Parker Chase on that last lap was the fastest driver in this field.
And I'll tell you, Baptista, who had dropped way back, Cal, to about 3 seconds off of Dickerson, or at the time off of James, he's come right back into the mix here.
I'd be really curious to hear the post-race comments from all of these drivers in terms of what their car was giving them at the various stages of the race.
Oh, we're getting a report there may have been an incident between 45 of McCallion and the 12 of Stavely. Stavely's dropped a couple of spots. He's back in 10th now, so that's now under review. This is what we were talking about at the top of the show. What we saw at the start, what we saw at a third of the way through, and even 2/3 of the way through may not be what we're seeing in terms of which cars are fast in the last couple of laps here.
Certainly, Dollarhide looks comfortable at the front. Car seems to be handling well. Hasn't been showing any signs of sliding other than that moment we saw off turn 11, which is the early stages of this race. Got to keep that excitement, I would think, under control.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe that's exactly what he did. Was he gave it a bit of boot there and it slid around him. Yeah, stop that.
Batista there running a little wide, coming on the front straightaway. And the key with the track limits, what they're saying is basically you got to have 2 wheels on the racing surface inside the white line there. But, it's tough to control, tough to manage, tough to see everything.
Especially some of these corners, you know, I mean, literally the track exit or whatever is over a fairly blind brow, and you think, yeah, I'm right there, and then I'm a little wide here.
And he's catching this second, third, fourth position cars in a hurry. Parker Chase over a second a lap faster on that previous lap to those 3 in front of him, and about 3/10 quicker than our leader, Scott Dollarhide.
And his teammate, Harry Gottsacker, just made a pass on Jeff Courtney and has now picked up 7th spot. So Chase sits 5th, Aschenbach 6th, Gottsacker now 7th, Courtney 8th, Barkey 9th, and Stavely sits 10th.
Right now, front row for tomorrow would be Gottsacker on pole. And I think it's his teammate. Hang on, let's check that. I think Courtney. They have the outside front row slot at the moment. Sometimes we see these Pirellis able to give these guys fast laps towards the end still, even on a really hot and difficult day here at COTA.
That's something we didn't really mention too much here, is that this track tends to, at the best of times, be a little bit hard on tires, and as it gets hot, it just gets really slippery, doesn't it?
It does. It just gets greasy, and you're just sliding the tire and overworking it, and the temperature just continues to build. He has really caught these guys in a hurry.
By the way, George Kurtz has worked his way up to 11th overall, 2nd now in the AM category for your point leader in the Crowd Strike Global Motorsports Group McLaren. 3rd, a great drive by young Carter Young in the number 7. That is a Global Motorsports Group Porsche, part of that development program that they sort of have there. Carter is only, I think it's his 2nd weekend racing in Pirelli World Challenge, and up to 3rd. That's pretty. Oh, That was a big, big off there. I think that may have been the 24 Gannett. He was racing with Clennon. He went way wide, and there was a big plume. I think he may have just locked up. But Parker, you're not hidden. Here he comes.
Yeah, he's a definite threat for a podium here. He is coming on strong here in the late going here. Really nice, determined run from the back of the pack, but controlled at the same time.
Man from New Braunfels, Texas. Look at this battle. These two have been going at it, hammer and tong, and there, that's what happened.
Yeah,
There
down
it
in the
is.
brake zone for 11.
He was way down to the inside, the dirty part of the track, and
Yeah, and that, as we said before, that's one of the older Ginettas, does not have the ABS and electronic aids on the 16 chassis that Gannett is running.
so Chase has caught Baptista, and we still have 13.5 minutes plus left in this race.
Spoke to Rodrigo's manager this morning. He said they got big plans for next year, potentially moving up to GT3 machinery. So they really feel this has been a great learning process for the young man. He's certainly shown the speed and has the ambition. As we said, he has a mystifying demeanor, sort of like in the JPM mold Montoya.
Yeah, he really does.
When he first came on the scene here in the States. Seems very confident and has shown a lot of speed.
He's going to need to have some now. At the pace of Parker Chase. Looks to the inside of Dickerson. And I wonder if what you were just talking about, I wonder if Dickerson, the pace he had up at the front with those smaller tires, that may have just taken a toll.
I think so. I mean, we don't see the car sliding necessarily, but he's obviously having to control some of his rolling speed through the corners. But still a really impressive debut. And with these doubleheader weekends, we've seen it before, Greg, where a driver learns a lot in the first event of the race and comes back even stronger for tomorrow in terms of adjusting the setup, adjusting the driving style, adjusting how hard you push early in the going. So I think we'll expect pretty similar conditions here for tomorrow.
I would think so. It certainly seems from what we saw in testing in the first practice into qualifying, a pretty quick study. Chase now very, very close to Baptista coming out of turn 20.
He could have popped to the inside here. Rigo suddenly just veers over there a little bit towards the brake zone, but doesn't take the line completely away. Opens it back up so he can roll radius through turn 1.
Baptista just a smidge wide. Thought that was a pretty savvy move there by Parker, because you can see Baptista kind of ease over. Parker didn't go with him, so Baptista went, okay, I'm going to come back to the line. Right then, Parker dove to the inside. He'd just been a smidge closer. That could have been a brilliant move.
Yeah, and recognize your opponent too.
Yeah.
I think you have to handle everyone differently.
There's no question through the S's here at Ginetta right now. Has it?
You see there, Baptista slipping and sliding a little bit coming
May
through.
open the door up enough. Ooh,
Yeah,
and then
he
it hit that curb, and Parker got it sideways.
Yeah, just a little slip there by Baptista was enough for Chase to take advantage. When I say slip, I don't think it was a mistake, just the tires are probably going away a little bit. Now it's a drag race, which the Cayman should win here.
Look at that great shot. Tails away down this massive straightaway, and there you go. But does that give Parker an opportunity to be close enough to do something in the braking zone? He's thinking about it.
Baptista is impressive. It's really hard to just focus on hitting your marks and braking late when you know you got someone skiding down the inside. And I've seen Baptista do it a few times as now Parker Chase takes that position away. But a bit similar to what we saw in Mark Wilkins at Utah. He's under attack, but still maintained the line where the grip is and just tried to maximize what he could do and let the other guy just get on with it.
Using the best defense was a good offense approach.
Right.
Just drive as hard and fast as you can where the grip is.
The tendency is always to defend, you know, shut the guy down, Whereas if you just focus on like braking as late as you can on the grippiest part of the racetrack, that may be enough to clear the guy anyway.
So Parker through. That's going to move him up into fourth. With 10 to go, does he have time to reel in young Dakota Dickerson?
Oh, he's drifting now. car gone away, or did he just overdrive it a little bit there through the final corner?
Saw when he clipped that, just that curb a little bit up in turn 10, and the car just skated on him. So this is where he should be able to draw away from Baptista from what we've seen of the performance of the Ginetta in the S's.
Up front, Dollar has stretched the lead up to 3 seconds, so he looks to be in control of this race. As we now get inside 10 minutes to go. Love GTS though, Greg. It's such a mixed bag. We came into it last year with suddenly all these different elements thrown at us. We didn't know what to expect. It didn't disappoint then, and I think it's even more refined this year.
I think you're right. Boy, big lurid slide there by Parker, a couple of corners back. Didn't cost him much. He just saved it and continued on. But yeah, that Ginetta's starting to move around, and he's had to have used these tires up, these great Pirelli P0 slicks on that charge from dead last.
I think what's exciting about this class as well, Greg, we've got so many new GT4 cars on the horizon for next year, from BMW, from Audi, from Mercedes, and a lot of chatter in the paddock about who's going to do what for next year. New potential players coming to the championship.
Tremendous period here for GTS competition in the Pirelli World Challenge.
Well, I think just like in GT competition when we went to the GT3 platform, it really exploded. I think the same thing's going to happen here in GTS with GT4, which has certainly been embraced around the world globally. I think it's a sweet spot when we talk about amateur races, gentleman races, what they can afford to spend. It's nowhere near the high dollar operations that you need for a GT3 car.
Well, I mean, the simple fact, the Ginetta is a classic example of that. It's this great little chassis with a absolutely stock Ford V6, the same engine that comes in a V6 Mustang. So you're not spending huge money with a race prep motor and builds after every race or every 2 races, and just keeps the overall running costs way down, relatively speaking.
And it's a great playground for the Pro-Am drivers and young drivers like Baptista and Dickerson, who are going to go on to, higher levels of the sport at some point for sure. So it's a great training ground.
And Parker able to ease away just a little bit from Baptista, but he hasn't at this stage. I think it's probably because he has pushed that car to its limits and maybe beyond a couple of times here. He hasn't been able to do much with Dickerson, has he?
No, he may have be about 10 minutes shy here in terms of the ultimate performance of the Ginetta to grab that final podium spot. But we'll see. Look at this.
Whoa.
There's a little battle going on here between Oschenbach, Gottsacker, Stavely. Barkey's in the mix, having a great run again.
Courtney there as well. 5 cars. Boy, and this is where Lawson Oschenbach earns everything he gets.
Ooh. Great feel there. I don't think there was a touch, but it's like Lawson was reacting to how close. Like there was a little air pocket on the left rear fender, the right front fender of that Ginetta.
He felt that side draft. And look at this. Stavely was through on him, and Lawson able to counter and pick that spot back up again. I was going to say, this is where Lawson earns any kudos that he gets. It's a car that clearly just does not have outright lap pace. His driving this year has been spectacular. Boy, look at Courtney get a run.
Big run there. Got the power down early. Using the Maserati speed to good effect down the straightaway. Clears Martin before the brake zone, and here comes Martin back at him.
It's not quite close enough.
Not like you make a pass and say, okay, I'm done with him.
Yeah,
you got to be back on the
and never with Martin
mode.
He'll always throw a counter punch. There we go, back to the fight references. Gottsack quickly has driven away. Stavely recognizes that, wants to get through as well. We've talked about this so often, is that seeming sixth sense that Lawson has, and all the great drivers do, of exiting a turn to put your car exactly where the guy behind you wants to go.
Yep.
And he is something special at that.
He does. You don't see him kind of get into positions where, unless someone really makes a crazy move, that there's going to be contact. He typically survives the moment, typically maximizes and executes each race to the best of his ability, whether it's for a win, a podium run, a top 5. Today, maybe even top 7 will be the best for him.
Boy, Courtney just read that to perfection. Stavely ran right up under the braking for 20 under the back of Lawson. Couldn't get through on him. And Courtney squared up, went to the throttle a little bit early, came right up the inside when Stavely lost his momentum. And Courtney, that's 2 positions in about a third of a lap.
Yeah, and he's had a big year.
Smartly.
He's had a big year,
Yeah,
Jeff Courtney. I really think he's having fun. I know he gets frustrated at times, but I think that frustration is it's happening because he's becoming more competitive, trying to spit that out.
I would agree. It started with that great pole in his first race of the season at VIR. He's been there or thereabouts the whole time.
He races clean and expects to be race cleaned as well. So if he gets into it with anyone who he feels is being too aggressive, he doesn't like that.
Oh, look at Barkey. Just inside of Stavely. That's a good point, though. I mean, he does. You know, you don't see Jeff ever taking anybody out, and then when he gets clipped, it frustrates him. And he said, we don't need to be doing that. Just a little respect. And oh, look at Gottsager, how much ground he's made up. Sitting there in that 6th spot. Oh, look at this. Parker is through. That's for the podium.
Grab that podium spot. Does Dakota have anything for him here? 3 minutes to go. Probably 2 and a bit laps left, I would think.
Yep.
Fast start finish, and the next time by would think it'd be the white. Parker's really tried to roll speed there through that final corner, but sliding the car a little bit, missing the apex.
He's right down the middle. Realized he didn't get out of there well, and Dickerson might try something. Dickerson swings out to widen out the radius a little bit.
Liz, I don't think that crossbow has the torque to sort of like make the move. You may get alongside, but I don't think you're going to make it stick. So I think if he's going to make the move, it's going to have to be to the inside. If you got massive torque, you can maybe do the undercut and power off the corner and beat him to the next one, but I'm not sure the crossbow has that ability.
Confirmation from race control. White flag next time by. Here's a look at the pass.
Just tucks it in there. Nice job.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Up front, Scott Dollarhide stretches the lead up to 4 seconds now in the Lotus.
James, with all the scrapping going on behind him, has been able to hang on to 2nd. Aschenbach back in 7th. Uh-oh. Dickerson, a problem. He ran wide, exiting 11, and there are those 3 really aggressive orange.
I hope he's not out of fuel.
Curbs. Well, fuel, or did he brake some? It doesn't look like it. I mean, cars looks to be rolling fine. Well, that would be a shame. So that's going to move Baptista up into 4th. Ooh, Meredith. That is a big, big bit of contact for Brett Meredith. That's another of the Global Motorsports Group Caymans.
And really impressive this weekend on debut. Spoke to James Sofronis. He said he is super competitive. He's been doing a nice job.
Contact we're hearing, and that's into the barriers. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. He's part of the that program. Yeah, I mean, Global Motorsports Group does aftermarket Porsche development parts and performance parts, and they get a customer and they help them out with track days if they want. And Brett was one of those guys that said, "I'd like to try a little racing," and he said, "He's you know on that competition issue is we have the white flag, 1 to go." He said right away we realized, yeah, he's serious about this. So that's cool. Last lap, and Parker Chase. He wants 1 more.
Yeah, he does, and he's close enough.
Yeah,
he's got enough pace left in that car. He could give Ian James a hard time here before the lap is over.
Here you see Dollarhide. There's a bit of a margin. This time by came down just a little from 3.9 to 3.6 seconds. Look at this battle here. Aschenbach full on defense mode from Courtney and Stavely.
This has promoted Aschenbach up into the top 6 with Dickerson's issues.
Yes.
The only reason I'm thinking it could be fuel, Greg, is that sometimes you don't always top the car up. I'm not sure with the crossbow if you need to do that to get to the finish anyway for a 15-minute race, but sometimes you can save a little bit of fuel. And when you're doing practice runs, they're not always full-on, flat-out laps. And young Dickerson's pace could have caught the guys out. So just hypothetical, but when there's a minute or 2 left on the clock and he just suddenly sort of like slows, makes you wonder.
I think it's well reasoned, absolutely. Like I said, the only other thing that makes sense for me was the exit of 11. If he got up on those really aggressive, there's 3, there's a name for them. I can't know what they call them, but it's just like these bumpers, if you will. You get up on them and you're on throttle and that torque load right off, you see him there.
Right.
If you broke something, but boy, Lawson knows this is last lap. Points are valuable and he is under attack. Meanwhile, up front, Dullahite, James and Chase. Is Parker going to figure out a way to get by Ian James here on this last lap? You know, so far Lawson doing the job up front.
Look at this, he does.
He's through.
Wow.
What a drive by Parker. He has come through. Ian's going to do everything he can here. But Scott Dullahite, Lotus, and Scott Dullahite win at home in Austin, Texas. And James.
He pips him.
He got him back.
Wow.
Used the torque of that big V8 in that Panos.
Remember, Parker had been slipping really wide through that final corner. Maybe that caught him out and he just got the power down.
So Scott Dullahite, the Cinderella story here. There's no other way to put it. Hasn't raced in a long time. Certainly at this level, comes into the race at home. Aschenbach just able to hang on to that 6th spot from a hard charging Courtney. Watch it from this angle. He did it. Yep. He missed the apex again, Cal.
Just slips a little bit through that final corner. Just didn't have the balance there at the end and he just pips him. That was a great motor race.
That was fantastic. On a lot of different levels. Parker's charge through the pack. Aschenbach's defense, Dullahite's drive. It's great stuff.
Yeah, Scott's got to realize when he gets to the front, don't stink up the show, otherwise you're going to lose camera time.
You know, yeah, exactly.
Just hold it about a second and we'll keep that.
All right, now here's the other thing. Is like when it's your year, it's your year. The unfortunate development for Dickerson, George Kurtz gets another win.
Yeah.
This is just stunning.
There he is.
Yeah, here's Mark. That's 62 at Clennon, too.
He's got Colin Brown, his regular coach here this weekend, working with him. Dane Cameron filling in at Utah, and he had another successful weekend. And McLaren wins in Pro-Am, GTSA.
This is George's 7th straight win, 8th on the year.
Wow.
Just unbelievable. What a year. Like I said, it's your year. Wins the Silicon Valley Entrepreneur Magazine of the Year award. It's good to be George. King George. What a drive by Dullahite. He has got to be just coming unglued inside that car. This is home for him.
Yeah, he's going to be pumped.
Yep. They own a little racetrack here as well and nearby called Drive Austin. That's you see on the front of the car there. Just a great story. And his dad was prominent in the paddock this weekend, just beaming ear to ear to see his young one back behind the wheel of a race car.
Yeah.
Look at
They had
that.
a strong car and they made it work.
Oh,
I think
no
they're probably
kidding.
a little bit frustrated with qualifying, but kept it together and drove a brilliant race.
Wow, what a story. And I don't care what you say, that is one beautiful race car. Just not just the lines of the car, but they've got that graphics package on that is just superb.
Okay.
He had to work hard in this heat, that's for sure. As he crawls out, see Jeff Leppard down there. He's ready to go. Helmet's coming off here. Tell you what, Jeff, hometown boy makes good.
Hometown boy makes good. Scott Dollarhide, of course, a little different than driving the pace car, but you're still able to get it done here in GTS. Superb drive.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's no Cadillac, but the SDR crew did a great job today of getting the car fixed from qualifying to the race, and we were able to make it happen. I just want to thank our sponsor, JetX, and Driveway Austin, and everybody that else made this happen. So, yeah.
Walk us through your pace of the race. Obviously, falling back at the beginning and then working your way back up. Any strategy to play that, or what did it take to get you back up to the front?
Yeah, the strategy basically was to push hard from the get-go. Our qualifying didn't work out in our favor, but I knew what we had to do, and it was basically just push, push, push. And once we got our gap, I just leveled off and smoothed out and brought it home.
Well, Texas fans, somebody to cheer about. Like Greg Creamer mentioned, it is a true Cinderella story here today for Scott Dollarhide.
Boy, isn't it? Look at that. That crew. They worked so hard last year. They had so many rebuilds on that car. I remember one race he had a car parked on top of him, if you remember that.
Yep.
And they just never gave up for a small budget team, and to finally be able to do it and at home just doesn't get much sweeter than that. Ian James, tell you, just another superb drive. And then Parker Chase from back of the field through to third. Not a bad day. Oschenbach, useful points in sixth.
Some great performances. I mean, you can pick any one of those guys in the top 10. Nate Stacey sneaking in the top 10 there right at the end as well. So another solid run for him. Stavely had his moments. Barkey was fighting. Courtney had pace in the Maserati. He'll start towards the front tomorrow, maybe on the front row. So some good stuff going on.
Yeah, again, that's a good point. Those fast laps, man, that is so huge. And nobody was able to get underneath that 2:19.98 by Harry Gottsacker. So he will start on the pole position. But the guy who sits on the podium from that same team, Performance Motorsports Group, from the back of the field to third, Jeff.
Well, we talk about Parker Chase, the drive you had from up to third on that final podium. First off, I know it's frustrating for having to start in the back, but did you think you would be where you're at right now?
I knew it was going to be difficult, but I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to finish bad. I knew I wanted to get somewhere in the top 10, and from the start, we got like 11 on the first lap, and that's when I knew this is going to be a good race. And I just kept picking them off one by one. And that last lap, I was pushing to catch the Panos, and I got by him, and then messed up in turn 20, and he just got by me. But it was a fun race, you know. I enjoyed it. Hopefully, we don't have to start in the back like that again.
Well, hopefully not, and look for a lot better result tomorrow when he's at the front of the field there, Greg and Cal.
Absolutely, and as I said, he's a Texas boy, so that's two of them on the podium here, and that means a lot. And, you know, there's certain races that everybody wants to win, but one of them is always your home race, and they're able to do that. Here is that story, and like I said, for George, obviously, Dakota Dickerson was the guy today, but have that issue, whether it was fuel, mechanical, and to be sitting second, George Kurtz gets that seventh straight win. Just unbelievable what he's doing. Tony Gaples, a great drive to second spot. He and Carter Young battled that entire race, and ends up with Tony in the second of the Black Dog cars on the second part of the podium, and Carter Young the third. Then Gannett and Clennon rounding out the top five. So some good stuff there. And Brett Meredith, of course, had that big incident about two-thirds of the way through that race.
Yeah, he had a strong run going, though. He's got to be happy with his debut, not the finish, of course. I'm not sure if he just lost it there coming through that fast sort of carousel turn and clouded the wall, or whether he was involved with another car. But hopefully they can get that thing fixed up, and he'll make the grid for tomorrow.
Absolutely. And, of course, that saw a shot of the iconic 251-foot observation tower here. There it is. And it's got more racing that's going to be running around it yet today. And some of it is Pirelli World Challenge, and it is the first of the official Sprint X races from this Grand Prix of Texas. We had the makeup race for Canadian Tire Motorsport Park last night, but at about 3:30 or so, we will be starting off the pre-race festivities for Sprint X. And that is going to be coming at you right here on our global webcast. So make sure in just a little while you come back and join us. And once again, it'll be myself along with Cal and Jeff Leppard bringing you the call. Hope whatever you're doing, you're having a nice afternoon, but don't stray too far. We want to be with you again in just a little while.